Hey everybody, this is Smit tuning into TAOTalks. This is season 1, episode 10. Can't believe we made it all the way through here. That's incredible. This is the final episode of the season. I'm glad you're here. In today's episode, Jesse and we talked about human being and our relationship to work, especially professional work that we do that brings in the income. Kind of really got into the feelings associated with that, especially when you are in loss of that, and the act of renewing ourselves. It kind of felt like we were really talking about when a chapter is closed and then a new one begins. But really then it kind of got into the fact that being in flow or being present actually means to continuously renew ourselves and let go of the past and be okay with the newness of the current moment. So really enjoyed this conversation, and I think you'll like it as well. Enjoy the episode. This is TAOTalks. T-A-O, the art of Tao. TAOTalks, the art of exploring life. TAOTalks, the art of being. TAOTalks, philosophical musing. TAOTalks, ancient wisdom for modern beings. TAOTalks, the art of understanding. TAOTalks, universal laws. TAOTalks, timeless insights. Welcome to TAOTalks. T-A-O, the art of. Hi Jesse. How's it going?
Going well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think better than last time I was in here.
Yeah,
I was a little
yeah.
uncomfortable and distressed.
Yeah. 10.
It's number
It's kind
10.
of crazy, man. Yeah. We set out to do this. I set out to do this for this year, so it's kind of surreal to be sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you feel about it?
It came fast. Yeah, we had ups and downs, but I think it came fast. That's how I feel about it right now. It doesn't actually feel real. There's a sense of pride in it. I think we talk about how having the goalpost be like a lot like the lighthouse, but then you're aiming towards that. And I mean, in a way, it kind of feels like we're hitting the lighthouse, and it's nice to be able to have something in mind, like abstract, to then make it feel more tangible. You come up with a lighthouse, like a visualization of it or whatever that means, and then like you arrive at it, and then you arrive to it. It's kind of like, oh, that was interesting. In a way, there was like a familiarity of what it could be like, but we would never know until we actually explored it. And so it's nice to be able to have gone through that journey. And I mean, in a way, we've talked about a decent amount of stuff, but at the same time, like, we've just like scratched the surface of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how I feel about it.
You see ways in which this whole project has stretched you and grown you in other ways outside of this?
Technical stuff, yes. Like the production aspects of it. Emotional aspects of it as well, actually, that I didn't anticipate. Because I think what comes to mind is like really that time where we took our summer break and then we had to come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And there was like friction, for sure, and resistance. So there was growth in that, because I got to really learn. It's like, oh, this is what it means to like be in the cadence of something, and then you kind of break that, and it's equally like insightful to have gone through that, because if it was just always like we were always in the rhythm or the cadence of things, and I would have never like I would never come across that resistance, like the feeling of resistance. And so it was kind of interesting to like experience that, and it just felt like starting all new again. And that's kind of really on the point to kind of what I've thought about wanting to talk about today, is like men and his relationship to work. So man in his work. And this aspect of going back to what I was saying, which is that the aspect of starting from scratch, like all over new, thatness of it. There's so many like emotions of fear associated with it, judgment that I've been experiencing also, and fear, judgment, and this sense of like just craziness, like what is happening, or like, but it's important. And I don't really know how to like, I've navigated that multiple times, I think, at this point, and yet that newness just always feels so foreign every time.
I have a thing I like to tell people. The scariest thing is always what comes next.
Yeah.
The unknown.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is unknown about what comes next. Yeah, it's funny. I asked that question, not having thought about it ahead of time. It kind of popped up, but as I asked you, immediately started thinking of the ways in which this is stretched and grown me. Definitely see it professionally more than anything.
Tell me more about that.
Well, then there's the production side. You know, seeing what you've done in here, you know, clean, sharp, professional. You know, I have my other, you know, the TAOFit method that I am trying to, you know, over the past several months have been putting out more content. And so just putting out more content, there's a difference of putting out content and putting out content that people watch.
Yeah.
There's two very distinctly different things. And so doing this has just kind of sharpened my viewpoint on what I can do in other ways to sharpen my content in those other areas as well. Which stretch me, like go into the fear and the judgment. It's trying to put out something that is higher quality, but also delivers good content that people can learn from and apply. Means getting out of my comfort zone.
Yeah, the newness.
It's new,
there,
which
right.
yeah, and
Yeah.
doing it differently.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm doing it differently.
Yeah.
I have a great appreciation for that. I hadn't really thought about it a whole lot up until this moment, but I see in a lot of different ways. Like I'm doing a lot more work in ways that I just never did before.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the process of it, even though I find it incredibly challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the part that, like, going back to, we're talking about number 10, and there is thatness of like closing the chapter, and I had kind of foreseen that, where this is why I thought about things in seasons. And so, of course, like the newness, like I want to bring in that newness in the next season and what that will be, and it's kind of reinventing that, and that will happen in its own way, and it'll take on its own form. And so in a sense, it's kind of like, I guess I always envisioned this as like an infinite renewal of the process. So if it's like the same for 1 year, but then you're kind of renewing it the next year and take on a different shape. But there's definitely like so much of fear in that, and I think I want to like dive into that a little bit more, because, and that's going into the aspect of this man and his work. And I say that, you know, obviously, like I mean it for everyone, but I'm just terming it that way because it's appropriate to say it that way because of the context from which I'm coming from, which is this identity attached to work. And I'm like really, I find myself grappling with that concept because I lost my job and I'm in the process of finding a new one. And so much of my identity is really attached to it, even as a man in society, in my family. Even if people are not putting pressure on me, I put enough pressure for myself to be this person who does work, who brings in income, who brings in, and all that is attached to who I am. Um, and recently, I actually heard from someone else about the connection of dignity associated with being able to work. Me having that as what I do has that aspect of like there is a fulfillment and dignity aspect of it. And I think when I find myself in a situation which is like in between chapters, trying to look for a new chapter, um, the ego takes a little bruise when it comes to that dignity part of it. And everything, even whatever I like try to do with aspects of thinking about like reinventing myself and what it could be the next thing, sometimes that next thing is not necessarily attached to what I will be doing professionally for my work or in my career. And if I want to explore that thing, then I find myself just like judging myself or feeling afraid of others judging me like, oh, this is not going to actually get me this way. And so it just gets so convoluted. And having to navigate that is really, really like something that I find myself in.
Talking about work, I'm trying to wrap my head around how to step into that.
Mm-hmm.
I've been self-employed for more than 20 years, which is great for job security. I'm not, I haven't gotten fired. It's hard to fire yourself when you're the boss. So I have a different relationship with work because of that.
Yeah.
I reflect on work on a regular basis. I probably every day. And when I hear it to me, I hear a larger pulled back version of it. Thinking in terms of like my life's work.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to me thinking like short term, like income is in that.
I think it's a zoom in versus zoom out.
Yeah.
It's the same thing,
yeah.
Right? You can zoom, like, what is, how does my work right now, how does that feed into my life's work?
Yeah.
In meaningful ways. It's going to come back to meaning,
yeah.
Right? It's going to come back to that fairly quickly. And bringing in the masculine
mm-hmm.
part of this, there's something about the masculine that, at least within me, that I think about legacy, what I leave behind.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason I enjoy this project is it allows me to share things that once I am no longer on the planet, it remains. So there's a sharing of something that gets to be passed down. I think of it in terms of coaching, coaching kids, being able to teach them something that I was taught by an elder and being able to pass that down, which means that kid who grows up to be an adult and at some point passes that down to someone else, there's a part of me that now lives forever through that. I find great meaning and purpose in that, and just that concept. Being in service to others in the minimal ways in which I am, I find are meaningful aspects of the work that I'm here to do. And so I think about work from that kind of more grandiose standpoint to get more specific on what am I doing right now that's leading to that. Mm-hmm. How is what I'm doing right now meaningful in that larger viewpoint, which might be an interesting place for where you're at right now, because I would assume, and I'll throw this as a rhetorical, and you can, maybe it's more of a question than anything. We identify ourselves tremendously with our work. I I assume that men do that a little bit more than women, but I know women do too.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not a man versus woman. I think we in general identify with our work. We are what we do.
Yeah.
And so to get fired from a job or to lose a job, to whatever it is, whether you get fired, laid off.
Yeah.
I mean, you can leave on the best terms with the best exit package possible. It still feels like a rejection. You just got, you got fired, whether it's the economy, whether it's something that's in your control. It doesn't really matter. It's going to feel like a rejection. And I assume that it feels like the entire paradigm of everything that you knew just came crashing down.
It changes things when you kind of see it coming a little bit, but at the same time, like, for sure. I'm thinking back on the immediate couple of days of just hearing that news. Like, yeah, it resonates quite a lot. And then you kind of let that dilute over time with your feelings. And I think that the aspect of like the fear for reinventing or renewing, like whatever the next chapter is to be, you got to go find it and all of that, find the good match. But even fear associated with that has this notion of, I had this thing that kind of just crumbled down that now I have to like rebuild myself. So obviously that's very much like attached to that. It wouldn't feel the same if I was still continuing that and just took on a new job. It would not feel the same. The aspect of this that I find myself experiencing feelings of guilt and the fear of judgment from others is taking on new projects that may not have anything to do with the work. That guilt is that it's like, this that is not adding up for that, which is a zoomed in version of compared to that zoom out version. And the guilt of the timing, just me telling myself all these things, like the timing is just not right. I mean, I think that's the guilt speaking. It's like timing is not right, as if it will not matter if I have a job and then I take this on, because then it's like, oh, okay, cool, like no problem. Because my dignity or my tied to who I am as a provider in my family is secured because I have a job and all that stuff. But you take that away, then the guilt is just like zooming in and honing in on you. It's like, yo, what are you doing? Like sometimes it can feel ruthless.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think when the moments where our paradigms crumble to the ground and we're left listless.
Listless. What do you like?
It's
listless. To-do lists. Less.
Well,
in a way.
I mean, it could be that listless. It's almost like you're on you're cast away. You're stuck on a raft, floating in the ocean, and you don't know where land is. I think that's one of the more amazing and beautiful opportunities that we get in life.
I think I know that conceptually. Like, I know that because it's like, this is where new thing comes from, is a bunch of seeds being planted here, and what will grow, and that will be the new thing. There's even an aspect of thing that I tell myself, which is that I may not get to really pick which seed is actually going to flourish into a plant coming out of the ground. I get to just do my best effort, keep trying, continue putting out, like planting the seeds in. And then if one plant grows, I go with that. Multiple gets sprouted, then I get to maybe pick which one I want to continue on focusing my energy on. Kind of that way. So there's this sense of control, like I'm kind of letting go of that and I'm okay with that conceptually. And then there are still times that are like, it'll be rough. And I have those days.
Well, rough is part of what makes it beautiful. The discomfort that you go through, the guilt, the judgment.
Yeah.
When I say you're like on a raft and like everything's been leveled out, you get to see things clearly. That job that you had that kept you occupied and felt
It was
good.
kind of in that stream.
It
It's
you know
going,
it,
yeah.
it met these, it met the purpose, the provider. It met those needs well, but was it really what you're called to do?
Mm-hmm.
Is it really where your heart was at, or was it just a job that paid? And so when those buildings crumble down and you get to see things for where you are, yes, you get to plant seeds, but there's even more than that. Like you get to see the quality of the land you're on. Is it fertile? Do you need to mend the soil? Do you get to pick where you place those seeds? Are you just throwing them into the wind and hoping something grows? That is one way to do it.
Yeah.
That's not a bad way. Or are you cultivating specific areas and you're putting specific seeds and specific types of ground? And over here at some, strawberries like a little bit of sand, right? Other plants like good compost. So, are you cultivating different types of things so that different things have better potential to grow independently, and seeing what comes from it? You also get to experience the feel. The guilt is manipulative. The judgment is manipulative, right? I can be in a state in which I'm just observing and I'm being, and I'm kind of doing my internal work, and that guilt comes in and it just points that out as being lazy. You're not doing anything. You're not making anything. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm now doing some busy work, but is that busy work actually productive? To be able to recognize the guilt and the judgment and to breathe into it and to start letting it go, you start to see how the guilt and the judgment has actually dictated the choices that you've made when it's come to work. Maybe it's part of the reason that you find work that you're not 100% invested in, that you're just taking as a job, because man, guilt will make you do that. Life will also make you do that. Like sometimes you only have one job option, and that's just the job.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not so much about the job. It's about what is the motivating factor that pointed me into that job.
Yeah.
And I get to let go of that guilt. And here I am in this land where I get to like actually cultivate. Where do I go next? A practice I like to do is, I like to, the future is filled with an infinite potential, the infinite potential of outcomes. And if I think infinite potentials, it's like, well, there's really good outcomes, there's really bad outcomes in an infinite potential. But if I can point to the potential that I want, that where I see myself, that's where I want to be off in the distance. When I take that larger view of like, what does my work as in my life look like? And where at the end of my life, when I look back on all the work that I've done and I go, I feel good about my work. My last breath, I can look back and be like, that last breath isn't going to have resentment or I wish I did it differently. That is a specific point that becomes my beacon, my lighthouse. And so if I can really get rid of the judgment and the guilt, and I can do that now, I can start to see the steps that move me in that direction. And I can start actively like, what do I got to learn? Do I need to take courses? Do I need to go do something different? Do I need to go put myself in uncomfortable places in order to challenge myself to grow in these particular ways? Whether it's doing a podcast.
What if there's that outcome is like feeling based and not necessarily like, you could say like, I want to say action based, but I mean, whatever you end up doing is going to require action.
Whatever you're doing is required action, but I think feeling based is appropriate too. Like, I want to feel a certain way about my work. So my work has a feeling quality to it.
Yeah.
If I'm working because of judgment and guilt, and I'm always I'm probably going to feel that at the end if that's the work that I've done along the way.
Yeah.
So that means I have to change my orientation with these feelings that I have now. What is the guilt telling me? What is the judgment telling me? I don't necessarily want to just let it rule, and because I feel guilty, I'm going to take whatever.
Right. Surrender to it or something. Yeah.
Instead, I'm going to surrender. I'm going to journal, and the guilt probably has a message for me. I want to cultivate that message so that I don't have to experience so much guilt all the time. It's there as a signal to let me know that I'm off track somewhere. I'm not where where I could be.
Yeah.
And so that's work. Doing that is definitely work. There's action to that. And my experience with paradigms crumbling, I've had this experience a few times, in ways that felt devastating, at the time, but in hindsight, it's like life-changing.
Yeah.
Because when the paradigm crumbled, I stuck to my work. And so what ultimately came out of that was, a lot of the things that I feel like I get the reward of today. There's things in my life that are amazing that come specifically from that work that I did then. How I work with clients, the type of work I do with my clients, the opportunities that I have, the relationships that I have, comes very, very specifically from the hard, uncomfortable part of that period of time. And I went through it a few times over the course of a decade or so.
One of the things that I'm like thinking about from this journey is this notion of there's like some sort of a normality into these cycles that you talk about, these inflection points, these difficult times. And it's like persevering through that, not just by doing the work that you're supposed to, or some feelings are telling you you're supposed to do this, but really just doing it's persevering through all colors of emotions during that time. Because I don't see a future where I get to just not face this ever again. There isn't anything that I can do to not ever feel like this. If there was, I don't know if that exists. And if there was, I think I'm still escaping whatever I'm feeling here. That's what I'm like learning.
Mm-hmm.
And so being just okay with the flow of it in a way too, because it's like, hey, like I do not get to control this like this to the T. Does this sound like blowing with the wind kind of thing though?
No.
Or that sounds like that's like not guilt. Now bringing that in a little bit of like, oh man, you're just going with the wind, huh? Like, cool.
No, it can look like that at times. It can feel like that at times.
Yeah.
But if you're legitimately doing work, you're cultivating.
Mm-hmm.
You started off with the planting seeds, and that just brings the garden analogy. And there's a reason I'm a gardener, and it's not because I'm good at gardening or I love gardening. It's because it is so rich with metaphor.
Yeah,
it teaches me about life. Making good compost, making good soil is hard work. And you're doing that before you even put the seed in and you get to see the plant. It's months and months before you actually get to see the plant grow.
Yeah.
That's not blowing in the wind. If you're blowing in the wind, you're not doing that. You're not grounding into the work.
Mm-hmm.
You're not cultivating the soil. There is action that is a part of what we're talking about it here in a podcast. So it doesn't sound, it sounds intangible. It doesn't sound like something specific, but there is very legitimate work that you have to do.
Yeah.
And some of it is internal work, meditation, journaling, which can definitely look like blowing in the wind, but that's only a part of it. Because what comes out of your journaling and your internal work should be action items. Well, this is the I need to be going in this direction, right? This is where I am being pointed to, and I'm going to move in that direction until I get pointed somewhere else. One of my teachers talked about it in this way. If you're a businessman, you go into different ventures, knowing that not every venture is going to pan out.
Yeah.
And so you venture into one, and as long as it's working, and then when it's no longer working, you move over and you venture into the next thing. And as long as you are moving in an orientation of somewhere, you're learning, you're growing, everything you develop from that venture, you get to take with you to the next one, even if that didn't quite turn out the way you thought it was going to. That's how growth works. As long as you are actively progressing towards something, you are going to grow. That is work. That is not being blown in the wind. If you're playing video games and smoking pot and you're not actually doing the cultivating, that's blown in the wind. That's a completely different looking thing. And not that doing the lazy, playing video games and smoking pot doesn't also fit in this, but
I think we were saying like that's all you're doing or something like that.
Right.
As a way of escaping or totally.
And this is where you got to watch for the judgment and the guilt, because the judgment and the guilt can get you doing things that aren't deep about your orientation, and it's busy work. And it's busy work that is blowing in the wind, just like playing video games and smoking pot. Like it's not actually,
it's not any different.
Yeah. You get on the computer and you're, I gotta, apply to 100 different jobs that I'm never ever going to want to actually, none of them I actually want.
Yeah.
Well, how useful was that time? Could I have been doing something better?
Yeah. I'm really excited to go in this venture, and this is something that has cultivated this feeling of guilt and all that is into music, especially music playing with an instrument, like an old percussion instrument called tabla, Hindustani classical music, and it's really just two sets of drums and you're playing it with your hand. But yeah, it's like it comes from this rich background that I don't know a ton about, but it's been around in my whole life, mostly through when I listen to music. It's there. I just never knew exactly like where that specific aspect came from. And it comes from this rich, like, teacher-student type of knowledge transfer work, whether it's actually in learning how to play to learning even how to make these instruments, because there are no factories that make these instruments. They're literally handmade and made by people who've been making it for 3, 4, 5 generations. And so it's like really, it's been kind of, I've been very drawn to the history of it, to the art making of it, and then eventually getting my hands on it to then start to learn the alphabetics of it. And so that aspect of it, which is, if I've been growing strawberry like plants in the field, this is like I'm growing cactus now. And so the guilt is like, yo, like strawberries is what pays your bills. Why are you worried? Like, why are you doing cactus thing here? So there is so much excitement with it because that's where my curiosity and my draw is even has engaged me to do that. And then at the same time, I'm feeling like fear and like, especially of people judging me, all of that, like with it. Like the whole thing of like, okay, when I'm going to need to like, if I want to learn this, I got to like keep at it, like invest time in it, all of that. And say, what am I going to get with that? Like, shouldn't I be doing that into something else? All that. So it's like, that's the beauty of it. I think I have to lean into that. I have to experience those. And I have to do something despite it may not make sense.
Yeah. remember the episode in which we talked about me being lazy and staying in a hammock?
Yeah.
It's a similar concept.
Mm-hmm.
We are creative creatures.
Yeah.
And I put you probably, you're got a good creative, you're decent amount of creativity to you, right?
Mm-hmm. To my work even also. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's important to cultivate that aspect of
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For a number of reasons. Learning an instrument, learning the languages, learning to paint, learning to draw, learning creative movement, it's neuroplasticity. You're growing your neurology, and I love the concept of neuroplasticity, because in the things that we're applying that grow our neurology, that neurology becomes an infrastructure for new things to be built onto, right? Our motor neurology, the infrastructure of our motor neurology is also the infrastructure for all the other things that we do. Creativity, what we learn for tasks, for work, our ability to do specific things in work.
I think you're just saying even the aspect of learning new things, that in itself, that neurology, you can take that to like just everything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and I doubt you're spending 8 hours a day playing the drums. So like 10, 15 minutes a day, number one, isn't going to impede on other things all that much.
Yeah.
And it's important. It's important to have outlets like that. It's building neurology, but it's also blowing off steam.
Mm-hmm.
If everything is stress, I have to be productive in order to bring in revenue. Man, that's such a narrowing of just who we are.
Yeah.
We become so small, so rigid. We can be successful, but like, what's the quality of the life that you're living when you get to that last breath and you're looking back on your work? I grinded. I made a living, and I paid all the bills. Doesn't feel like that doesn't feel like a good last breath.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's combined with I laughed, I played, I loved.
Yeah.
I have the richness of my experiences on top of that were provided for by it. Like that would, but it's all that other stuff that makes that meaningful and worth it.
Yeah.
If all you got is that and you don't have those other things, I know people like that. I do not want that life.
Mm-hmm.
That does not appeal to me. It does not look like a very fulfilling and meaningful life.
Yeah.
Unless somebody's just extremely oriented in that way.
Yeah.
And I know there are people that way,
right.
So I don't judge it, but it's definitely not the life that I want.
Mm-hmm.
But the guilt, the judgment, there's social pressures on us. Right? There's social pressures by our families, by our partners, by society at large.
That is the fear of judgment that I feel. Yeah,
and I think those are valid pressures. I don't think that we should ignore those pressures. I don't think that we should just dismiss them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're valid. Sometimes they're helping orient us in a direction that we may not necessarily want to go, but we actually need to go as well.
Yeah.
There's a difference in I want to feel a certain way, but then there's the harsh realities of life that's not the path I have available.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the pressures from outside are important, which is why listening to the guilt, paying attention to it, getting underneath it. What does it actually have to show me?
Yeah.
Maybe they're helping direct me in a specific way, but maybe the way they're specifically saying isn't it, but they're moving me in this direction, and maybe that's where I'm supposed to go.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a middle ground. It's like I'm taking it in and I'm absorbing it, and I'm letting it direct my path, but I'm also letting these other aspects direct my path, because I'm the one that's got to live with that last breath.
Yeah.
But But paying the bills is a real thing. Like if I don't make money to pay the bills, that's a hardship on me and those around me. So like I have to take that seriously. I have to take the judgments and the guilt that come with that seriously. There's a real weights, and they have real meaning to them.
Yeah.
So it's not to be dismissive of those things whatsoever.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because there was an aspect of me that was kind of feeling that way, which is like, I think it's just me dialoguing with those emotions, which is, hey, if one side of the emotion is like, with the guilt, it's saying, dude, you're crazy. Like, this is not the time, whatever. Like, don't do this. This is not your priority. The other aspect to combat that was like, I'm going to ignore all of that, right? Which would be this thing that you talked about, which would be to dismiss it. And you're saying like, that's not helpful either. I agree with that. I think it's really being open to all voices, not just your voices or someone else's voices, but all voices, to then like see what is it that you can live with in the long term. Because this thing of like, I'm not going to listen to this, I'm only going to listen to this, like that aspect of it, there's that like tension always. There's that tug of war always happening. And I think that ultimately, I don't know if that's ever going to really serve, where I'm just continually building these tug of wars in my mind. At some point, like I think I want to be like looking for something that's at ease, that brings ease.
There's something about that word that I want to get into it for some reason.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's ease. I don't think it's an easy thing, what we're talking about. I think it's actually really hard, but there's
like, I think it's like,
it's the letting go.
Do you think that, or is it like the effortlessness, but it may be perceived that way? You don't know if it's effortless or not.
What is effortlessness? I
It's perceived.
effort all the freaking time. Being in a state of flow is not effortless. It can feel effortless. Like but it's not. You see somebody on a surfboard literally surfing in flow. Like that is what surfing is. There's effort. They're working. They're working.
Yeah.
Right. They got to work to get into it.
Yeah.
And then there's work when they get out of it.
Yeah.
And while they're in it.
Yeah.
There's serious work going on to be able to maintain it. So it's not effortless. The letting go, I think what it is it's like, it's having a thick skin. It's allowing things to roll off your back. It's being able to move forward with ease. It's not that things are easy or there is ease to it or effortless. It's that.
What aspect of a surfer is letting go on the surfboard?
Ooh. So
like, there's probably, I can see an aspect of like trusting, like this is going to work. Like when I get on the board or whatever, like my muscles will have the knowledge, and there's aspect of that that's like letting go of it.
How would I get into that? I think I want to talk about it from like just posture and position to start with. Like, when you're on a board, that board is constantly swaying. You have shift forward and backwards. You have sway back and forth. And if you think about it too much, if you're in your head, you're thinking about, oh, I got to push this way. I got to push this way. And the time it takes for you to think to make those things happen, whatever you needed to be able to do is you're done. You've crashed. That is not being in flow. So you have to be able to let go of the need to be attached to what you're doing and allow your body to feel it and respond on its own. That there's an effort to that. But a lot of it is the effort of like, I have to trust that my body has the knowledge of this and that I don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. So I have to like every moment I have to let go of the previous position, like moment by moment by moment, because my body is literally responding in real time.
Yeah.
which is the reason once we latch onto, boom, we're done. And that's true of any state of flow. Where you're thinking about it, you're not in it. There's effort, but that effort is intrinsic. It's learned. And there's trust. There's a tremendous amount of trust that my body I will figure it out as I go. And, the wave's bigger than you think. It's harder than you think. It's faster than you think. You go with it the best you can. You have to let go of preconceived notions that you thought it was going to be this way. You got to let go of all that stuff and just be in the moment. And when things go sideways, it's the same. You're still continuing to just be in the moment.
Yeah.
One of my superpowers is I can things that normally would disrupt other people don't disrupt me that much. Example, like, we're getting ready to go. We made plans for the day. We're going to go to the beach. We got picnic. We're going to do our whole thing. And we walk outside and it starts raining. Right. It's like most people like, my day is ruined.
Right.
Like, I'm so upset.
There's water all on my plans.
Right, yeah. It's like, yeah. And it's like, right. Just man plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
Right. And just move on. Like, that's not whatever I thought the day was going to look like. It's going to look like something else. And it's going to be great still. Like, it still has the potential to be great, even when it's stormy and cloudy.
Yeah.
And to a more real life example is, I may have plans for the day and I wake up and something hurts. And it's like, it hurt. And it's like, pain sucks. It sucks the life. It has the potential to suck the life and joy out of you on any given day. And it's real easy to go around and just be grumpy and to make your pain everybody else's problem. I aim to I don't try to hide my pain, but I don't let my pain dictate the day that I'm going to have, other than realistically, I just can't do certain things. Like, I just can't do what I was planning on doing today because I physically can't. But I'm still going to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring the best attitude I can. I might be feeling stressed. I'll let the people around me know, hey, if I sound grumpy or stressed, I'm dealing with some stuff, but it's not you, and I'm good. I am here. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't here. Because I have a lot of those days where what I had planned, my body will allow me to do.
Yeah.
And if I allowed that to derail me in negative ways, I have a pretty miserable experience most days. And so to be able to let go of, just to move forward and let go and to be where you're at. These are the cards I'm dealt, and this is where I'm at, and I'm gonna do the best I can, no matter what. And I may have thought that I had the best hand in the group of the deck, and it turns out I got 2-7, and I'm gonna make the most out of it either way.
Yeah. This whole time you were saying that, it's like that applies to the aspect of what we're talking about before too, because that's just what it is. It's like I find myself continuously saying the same thing, which is how you show up to anything, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I've been practicing a lot on not even saying negative things like internally, and instead just having a positive outlook on it. It's like, I'm going to do the best. Like, I am doing the best I can.
Yeah.
And I want to do the best I can. And I think the whole thing that you were saying about the pain and just how your day was going to be and the rain or whatever, like totally it applies 1-to-1 on these like journeys of life too, because it's like you could have a job or not have a job, but the cards that get dealt to you could change like instantly through rain or pain.
Yeah.
And the feelings will be the same in those moments.
And being in a state of flow is being able to let go of where you're at to be in the moment of where you actually are.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it means to be in flow. It's like
Yeah.
letting go of what was to be in the present moment. And it's
what it is now.
It's
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah.
You have to do it over and over
Right.
and over, every moment by moment.
Yeah.
Which is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy task. Like, it's the field you have to cultivate. You have to work towards
Mhm.
that, because guilt, judgment, anger are going to come up, and they're going to hold you in a moment.
Yeah.
Well past, it's like, I'm still angry at that thing that happened.
Yeah.
Um,
In that way, that newness is always happening that we were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, okay, next season, cool. Like, maybe new instrument, like new, but there's like a newness that is occurring on a moment to moment basis. And that's what it means to be like present or in flow.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do is to take the worst possible moments and make them fun.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, flight got delayed. You're stuck in the airport for another 3-4 hours. It's like, awesome, let's find it. Like, how do we make that, how do we make that miserable experience fun? You talked about the negative thoughts.
Negative talks.
Negative talks.
Yeah.
Right. Self-talk, negative self-talk.
Yeah.
We all have that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's impossible to actually stop them. I think.
What I like to do with them is give them a voice and then make them
transmute.
Kind of transmute them, but and then to transmute it into like, it's almost sarcasm. I'm making fun of. It's like, I make a silly mistake and it's like, man, I am such a total shithead sometimes. Like, I don't say it in a way in which I'm a total shithead.
Yeah.
Right. I don't say it in a way in which I'm actually taking it personally. I say it in a way, it's like, it's almost like I get to throw it out.
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling that way about other people, I will do the same thing. I don't mean it.
Yeah.
I don't mean it about other people. And I only do this. I don't do this I do this with my partner. We do this together because, people cut you off. It's like, oh man, look, people drive like jerks sometimes, but you throw it off like that. I'm not saying that person's a jerk, because when I call that person a jerk, 3 minutes later, I'm cutting somebody off in traffic and now I'm the jerk.
Yeah.
It's more, we're funny creatures, and it's funny to point out how we can be assholes to each other sometimes. And it doesn't have to be so serious. And it allows it's like off-gassing those thoughts.
Yeah. It's kind of being present too. It's like in that moment you were feeling something and then you gave it a voice, you let it be, and then it's kind of off. You're on to the next thing. And it could be that next thing is that you're doing the same thing, but you're kind of just interacting and playing in life moment to moment like that.
I will also allow it to come out in journaling.
Yeah.
Especially when it feels strong. I don't end with negative thoughts in my journaling. Like, I don't write negative stuff, period, close the book. But I will allow that stuff to come out, partly so I can see it.
Yeah.
Oftentimes when you see it, it becomes pretty hilarious right off the bat. You're like, Jesus, man, that's some funny shit.
Yeah.
But it also allows me to flip it, to come back to like, okay, so those are valid.
Yeah.
I can feel this way. And can I find some, are there things that I can find that are good, grateful, or what do I need to shift? Where do I need to shift? How can I shift out of this? And then let that be how I finish my journaling. Because I don't want to hold on to this stuff. And I might write that in my journaling as well. I see all this. I don't want to hold on to this.
Right.
I want to let it go. I want to move forward. And I'm not trying to judge it. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just real. Those are the thoughts going on in my head, and that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And there they are. And how do I want to get to this point over here where that's not what I'm thinking? And my last breath is, I gotta let this stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's letting it go in ways in which can be fun and feel, restorative to me, or, in a journal. But I definitely don't want to get locked. What happened, the worst thing is when it turns into the hamster wheel. And it's like, You got the same,
yeah.
I'm a piece of crap and this, and it starts all over. I'm a piece of crap. And it's like the same story over and over again.
This is happening to me.
Yeah.
Like all, yeah.
Well, so when you get there, that's like, all right, I need to put it on paper and I need to let it go and I need to move on to the next thing and do that as many times. Whenever I see it, I need to do it as many times. And I actually will tell people too, this is something a teacher taught me. When you catch those thoughts and they're in that spin, you just got to you have to you can put your hand and say, no, right? No, I'm not going to engage in that anymore. Breathe, get to the emotions of what are feeding those thoughts. Cause that's ultimately what's going on in here is generated from what's going on in here. Anger, judgment, fear, insecurity, and guilt will be pretty strong one, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Break this chair.
I think it's you're
I'm just too shifty.
Yeah.
I remember this particular practice in a very specific time in my life when I was going through difficult stuff with my ex-wife. And I had my teacher who was living in the house with me. Our spiritual teacher was living in the house with us.
Yeah.
And this was fairly early on in that work. And I'm telling myself a little bit here. When we first moved in together, and we had a child, I was not a good partner. Like, I didn't know how to do things. Like, it wasn't that I wasn't willing. I didn't know how. And one of the things I didn't know how to do was washing dishes, right? My version of washing dishes was take a plate, this, put it up, plate, this, doing this. And my teacher came in and she's like pulling the dishes out of the dryer and going, this isn't clean. And me, my defensiveness, I just cleaned it. And she's like, look at it. And I look at it and it's like, there's grime on it. And I couldn't pretend that wasn't there as much as I wanted to have a story and be angry. And so I had to learn how to do dishes. I had to learn how to go slow, take my time, rinse well. And not only that, do the dishes and then clean the sink. It's not done until everything's clean. And I went that became a practice for me while I was going through this difficult time with my partner. And one of the next thing I find is while I'm doing dishes, I got these stories about my partner because we got friction, and I'm angry and I'm judgment and all I just have, she's doing this, boom, back to the top of the cycle. She's doing this. And it was relentless. And I had to get to the point where I physically was doing this with my hand. No. And then just breathing, scrubbing and surrendering. And that's weeks and months of practice because it was deep stuff. And interesting things came out of that. I'm much better cleaning dishes. And I'm a better partner because of it, because I can go to my parents' house. They cook dinner. I just go and do dishes. Right? I didn't used to do that because I hated doing dishes. I had a thing against doing dishes and I didn't know how to do them well. And now it's just this is where I get to go contribute and I go do it. I still hate doing it. But it's easy. I don't feel so much friction within myself, but that tool of a physical, I have to stop that train of thought. I can put it if I put it in my journal, I have to get to a point where I put an end to it and then I move through it and I say, we're done and I'm moving on. And practicing that over and over again. And the value of that, these thoughts come from neurology, right? That spin comes from neurology and it's probably has a deep history, right? These aren't new thoughts. These are thoughts that you probably had for most of your life, going back to your earliest memories. And so if you want to change how you feel, and how you feel changes how you think. You have to stop it here and then get to here and go, oh, I gotta get underneath that. I gotta bring in the oxygen, diluting the chemical stuff in our, that makes up all those emotions from our body, and building a new neurology. Like that's literally what's happening. It's building that new neurology, and it simply takes time and repetition.
Yeah. Just like it's really new, like neural patterns. And these things are so like deeply rooted that many of us just have grown up with this without realizing that we put in those reps in that.
Yeah.
And so like, I think, we have to do crazy things to actually get out of that, like punching them in the pillows, all of that.
Straight into the pillow, punching the pillow. Yeah. Stomping your feet, going for a walk.
Yeah.
Breaking sticks, breaking tree limbs on like just a like physical manifestation. Get it out. Try not to hurt yourself or other things, but letting it out in whatever way is possible, but then moving to something different. And that is work. And it's a work that most people avoid because number one, it's hard and it takes time, and we all want quick fixes.
And it's like bruising ego, all of that. Mm-hmm. I remember actually, I want to close this with the full circle moment, is that I remember hearing like, hey, like you've been furloughed, and that afternoon had to do the whole loop around Lady Bird Lake, and it's like I'm not used to walking that, so obviously that's why I pursued that, because it's like, hey, first, it's in the middle of afternoon in summer in Austin, hot, like just horrible conditions, but it gave me the opportunity to just let it be, just let process, channel all the frustrations, all of that activation energy through just steps, and coming back a lot lighter, like from that. But the thing is that I did that and I let go of it, but at the same time, I have to keep doing the work. Like it keeps coming back still in different forms many months later. So it's not that I've completely like let go and it's old news and I'm no longer like holding on to it, because new emotions will come across, maybe sometimes even with the same stories, and I have to do the active work.
Walking is one of the best things that you can do for that.
Yeah.
When I was going through a divorce, I was probably getting 20, 30 miles a week.
Yeah.
On walk. I was in best shape. I was in some of the best shape of my life. I almost wish I was going through that now, because I'm so busy on the computer. I'm not getting enough fitness.
Yeah.
But so many miles of just step after step of process. And it's strange because it was such a painful period of time in my life, but I can't help but look back on it with kind of like a
gratitude.
Yeah. Great appreciation for that, for going through that.
Cool, Jesse. Thank you.
All right.
Good conversation. Yeah, definitely. We'll be back. It might take a couple of months for when this comes out, but thank you all. Also, it's been a great year. We'll be back with the next one.
Awesome.
Cool. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Again, this is the final episode of the season. I really appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this conversation, leave a comment here or share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Bye. This is Smit, tuning out of TAOTalks.